welcome back, guys. Evening. Welcome to All for United. It's been quite a while. It seems to be ages, actually, to be quite honest. Well, at least since I've been on AFU. But got some new faces. One that's been on AFU quite some time ago, I believe. Joe, how you doing, mate? You all right?
Hey, it's good to be back here. I am absolutely exhausted, but I am always full of hearted spirit when I'm on with my All for United brothers. I have never met these gentlemen before in my life, but they're still my brothers in Manchester and across the globe, because we are the biggest club in the world, which means we're the best fans in the world, which means AFU has the best fan channel in the world, and people are going to come on here and agree with that when we get through our amazing points.
Yeah, you still. I had all that written down. You did it like for like.
I know. I looked over your shoulder now.
No, thank you, mate. Yeah, good to see you. And Dan, new face on the show. Pretty nervous, mate. Are you excited about this one?
Bit of both, really. Bit nervous, but because I've never done a live stream before. I've always been just behind normal videos. But yeah, I'm really excited as well at the same time.
We'll put an arm around you, mate. You'll be all right. You'll be sound. You'll be fine. So, Mr. Ton, regular on the show, mate. Is this your 100th show yet, mate? I don't know if it's
I don't know. I lost count now.
Yeah, 100 caps. We'll be doing what do you call it? A testimonial soon for you, won't we?
Hope not. That means I'm retiring.
No, long more a few more shows to go, I think, mate, to be quite honest for you. Right, we'll get straight into it then. Dan, not to put you straight on the stage, really, but your topic, you want to talk a little bit about last chances. So we're all going to get involved with this one as well, in terms of some players on the peripheral that haven't really sort of got into the season yet, and obviously a few that you possibly think might be on a bit of a last chance with the World Cup coming up, and obviously the team improving a little bit. Are they going to get into the team at all? So do you want to introduce your topic, mate, and talk a bit about what you want to say on that?
Yeah, happily. So I just put in the topic because I just thought that there's a lot of players that are currently in the United squad that I think they just shouldn't be here anymore, and I think that if they want to stay at United, then they have to prove themselves a lot. So with, like you said, with the World Cup coming up, with Ten Hag with his rebuild and stuff, I just think that there's going to be a lot of players that are kind of like Erik Ten Hag's been given a jigsaw that it has loads of different pieces from different jigsaws, and he's trying to put it all together to make one massive puzzle that just doesn't connect, if that makes sense. So I just think that Ten Hag is making do with what he's got at the moment, and then as the seasons goes on, players from previous managers will leave and he'll bring the players that he wants in. So I just wanted to talk about players that probably need to leave sooner than they should, if that makes sense. So, for example, I think the likes of Wan-Bissaka, Harry Maguire, Lindelof, Brandon Williams, Dean Henderson, the list goes on. I just think there's many players here that just need to either prove themselves, like on loan with Dean Henderson, or Harry Maguire needs to prove the chances when he gets them opportunities when he comes off the bench, or if he starts in Europa League or something.
Yeah, do you think there's any of those players that you think are desperately, got a chance to get back into the team? Is there anything you think where, or like Harry Maguire, is it done for you, or do you actually think he's got a chance to sort of make his way back into this Ten Hag team?
Well, with Harry Maguire, for example, is like he hasn't proved himself in Ten Hag's system yet, and he's now currently playing for England. We're currently 1-0 down against Germany, and he played against a really injured Italy team the other night, and he was terrible. So even in a system that he suits, he's just not a very good player. So I just think that Harry Maguire either is really out of form, or he is just not cut out for this type of level of football.
Well, I see Joe's unmuted himself there, so I'm really expecting Joe to jump in on this one, Dan. So it's an interesting topic. Go on, mate.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just so sick of that. Harry Maguire is not a bad player. He's not a terrible player. He's not an average player. Harry Maguire is a very good centre-back. There was a reason why we were up against Man City to buy him. There's a reason why he was our best centre-half 2 years ago, leading up to the Europa League final. There was a reason that we missed him in the Europa League final. And the games leading up to that, we started consistently dropping points in the league, beginning with losing 3-2 to Liverpool, because we missed him, because he was a very, very good centre-back. Over the last 2 years, he's shown that he's not consistently able to be that good. Whether it's due to issues with his personal life after having a fight in Greece, it kind of kicked off from there. But it seems like once the monkey's on his back, he cannot get it off. And he is not consistently able to be a good at that good level. So I would say Harry Maguire is most certainly a very good centre back. He's good enough to start for England. The reason he's been bad is because he hasn't been playing. That's from he has been playing for Man United, and he was excellent. He got into the Euros team of the tournament last year. So there is definitely something there. For me, his time is up. I think he shouldn't be obviously the whole thing about him not being captain. At the time, he probably was the right choice, but he's right now it's just too far gone. So I feel like if we had bought him for maybe even 50 million, I'd be gladly have him as a third choice if we need him. Without and he was never given the captaincy. But the fact that he's captain, for the fact that it's the most expensive centre half in the world, I feel that there is for himself and for us, he should be sold. But we should not sell him to a Premier League club, because I do think it will come back to bite us. Because no matter what, he is not a bad centre back. He has his faults. No one's saying that. He needs to be played in the back three. But if he's consistently played in the back three, he will show why he was definitely shouldn't have been worth 80 million. But he will show that he is a top class English centre back, like he was a couple of seasons ago. So that for me is it. He's not a bad centre back. He's just not.
I do agree with you, Joe. Actually, I think my worry is now, and I suppose the question is, can he find his way back into this type of team, like a Ten Hag team? And that's the issue, isn't it? I think
no, and I don't want him to. I think he doesn't suit it, and it doesn't suit him to be at the club either. Like I said, if he was a player we bought for half as much as we actually purchased him for, and he wasn't our captain, I would be like, we'd be mad to get rid of him, keep him on the bench, because he'd be there as a good relief. But for everything that's going with it, for the amount of baggage that he has, I think it's best for all parties if he does go. But like I have to reiterate, he cannot be sold to a Premier League club.
Yeah. What's your views on that, Mr. Ton? Do you agree with Joe on that? And
I don't think he does. I don't think he does.
I agree with the part where he's not a bad player. I've always said this: no player is a bad player. Every player, unfortunately, in this era, they suit sort of different managers, different systems. That's the era we live in now. But there's just so much flaws to his game, man. At his age, you need to have intelligence. If you know you're not quick enough, intelligence again. These are things where, like, if you make the same mistake, right, consistently, then that shows me a lack of wanting to get better from you, because there's video analytics these days where you can go back and look at the footage and look at your mistake and okay, next game. But a lot of these mistakes are very similar. Do you know what I mean? And then I remember I was debating someone on Spaces about this. Was it preseason game or was it? I think it was actually our second or first game. One of the games where, I think it was one of the games we played with Martinez, and people was blaming Martinez, and I was at the time saying no, it's Maguire's fault, and the reason why it's his fault because one, he's a captain and he's a leader, so he should command his back line. He had 30 seconds before anything happened to talk to his back line and command them or organize them. And then when he's before the goal, it was the one that Welbeck slipped him behind. And he looked over his shoulder twice. So Martinez might have read that as, okay, you've got the situation under control. But he didn't. And to me, my biggest flaw with him so far has always been communication more than all the other stuff. Yes, he's not the quickest. His feet, like one thing when you coach kids, you teach them about not keeping your feet planted. So it makes you flexible on your toes, you understand? And that's one thing he does a lot. So that there wasn't a surprise to me when Ten Hag kept on talking about communication. When they get asked about why is Varane starting and Maguire dropped, Varane's communication. It's very key. At this level, his age he's at, you should have that in your locker. But then I think people forget sometimes. He played at Leicester. He did play predominantly on the left at Leicester. He did play in a team that predominantly, when he defended, he was more close to the goalie. So when people are telling me all these other things, he can play highlight, but for his career, though, predominantly, he's played a similar type of way. And Steve McLaren said it perfectly before Ten Hag, he was a part of the team, that how the modern managers, they like quick centre-backs. They like centre-backs that can play in the halfway line and that if something gets through, they can cover it because it's high-risk, high-reward football and you've got to be smart. And unfortunately, he's not that for this manager. For another manager, back three or whatever, no, he might be perfect. Literally, he might be perfect. And this is why I say no player is rubbish or trash, because another manager can get the best out of them. But I just think for the level that we want to achieve and be at, he's not the player, man. He's not, and we've seen it. We've seen it enough times now.
Yeah, I do sort of agree with both points. Really, I think there is room for Maguire in terms of that kind of level. I just don't think it's this team and that stuff. I think where we've got to part ways kind of quite amenably. I think it's got to be done in the right sort of way. You know, I think he's become a little bit of a meme. And England scored. Have England scored?
No. It was Germany. It was a good goal, though. I think that was a good goal. It was actually a good goal.
You set me right up there.
It's one of those ones there. It's like you have to clap for it.
You scored.
One sec. Wait. Let me see. Wait. Let me see.
Let's come to another player in your kind of firing line then.
Maguire lose the ball. Wait, did that look like Maguire lost the ball? Oh no!
Oh no! You might have got proven his point there.
Wait, no, it can't be.
Mr. Tom, we're live here. We've got to go.
Sorry. Just talking about Maguire though, it's just that my frustration, like Joe and Mr. Ton have both said, is that he's not a bad player because obviously each and every player have made it this far in their professional career. So obviously they're not a bad player, they're just in the wrong system, I'd say. But my frustration with Maguire is just the fact that he doesn't take responsibilities for his own actions. He always seems to be blaming other people for his mistakes, how the team hasn't scored enough goals, or the goalkeeper should have saved it or something like that. I've never seen Harry Maguire actually take his own responsibilities for his own mistakes. That's just my opinion. So like Joe and Mr. Ton have both said, is that he's not a bad player, obviously. It's just in a system that doesn't suit him.
Yeah, I think so. And I think ultimately for my biggest issue with him really is his communication. If I'm brutally honest, you know, especially when he was captain, maybe that was an unfair sort of acquisition of him. He shouldn't have been the captain of Man United at such an early point of his career with Man United as well. But I think his communication was always the issue for me in terms of, you know, dictating and marshalling his defence and marshalling the players around him. But it is what it is. We're in that situation with him now, and I think obviously the team's improving, and it's great to see.
Oh, sorry to interrupt. It was Havertz that scored, by the way. Havertz that scored. And just on that point about communication, Reece, do you remember, especially last season, and I think the last 2 years, he always bumps into a player or puts one of our players on the floor because he hasn't communicated. I'm just saying that's just something I wanted to add there. Sorry.
Yeah, that time when he kicked Pogba in the head, but there was a whole different scenario going on there. Yeah, I mean, just finally, Dan, on a couple of the other players that you think might just be on the peripheral edges of this team. Obviously, Van der Beek's probably an obvious one, but is there any other ones that you're just really concerned about? And do you feel like we can get back in the team?
Yeah, I was just thinking of players like Ronaldo, for example, because I think that, like Harry Maguire, Ronaldo's in a system that just doesn't suit him, maybe in a league that doesn't suit him anymore. Like, Ronaldo's best years, we've all got to admit, was at Real Madrid, sadly, even though he won his first Ballon d'Or at United, and he obviously set his career off at Manchester United. I was too young to see that, so obviously I grew up with Ronaldo at Real Madrid and Juventus. So for me, I just think that Ronaldo is just past it now when it comes to the Premier League. Obviously, he can still give us something up front at the moment, but I just think that a much faster, much more young striker is what Ten Hag is looking for, and I just think that's why he's playing Rashford through the middle and then moves them off to the left-hand side when Ronaldo comes on for the last half an hour or so.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just you saying there that you've seen Ronaldo grow up at Real Madrid has just made me feel very old. But Neil's here now, and it must make Neil feel even ancient, more ancient than I feel. So, I do it, Neil, evening all. And I think we've got Jarvis on there as well. Hi, Jarvis, how you doing, mate? Usual AFU contributor as well. Nice to see Jarvis in the chat. Yeah, well, thanks for that, Dan. I think, do you guys agree? Is there any players that you feel, Joe, that I've kind of got a chance to come back in the team? Do you think Van der Beek has got a chance to come back into this team?
Nope. I think the line has been drawn in the sand a long time ago, and people, I used to get so frustrated, and it actually got me annoyed how frustrated I got with people demanding that Van der Beek start and I was like, but I don't understand why. Instead of Fred, I was like, Why though? They play different positions, and he's not suited to the system that he's going to be. He's supposed to be taking the place of Fernandes, will be a relief player for Fernandes. So there's a reason he's only coming on with 5 minutes to play, and there's a reason why he went to Everton and did absolutely nothing. Like, he's just not up to the standard, and that's just it. I don't understand why people are getting so upset about that, but he's just not. And Ronaldo should never come back. In my opinion, I know that's a bit more divisive, but I feel like all these problems start rearing their heads as soon as he came in the door. Van de Beek should be gone. Maguire won't go in January, but should be. Wan-Bissaka has been shocking for a long time. Shaw will still be there, and I'm fine with Shaw still being there as the two of them back and forward is fine with me, because Shaw plays well under pressure. But aside from that, maybe the only controversial one I would say that I think should be gone, but I think most people agree with me, is De Gea. But if you're talking about players that are out of form, can they get away back in? No, and there's no hope for them, and I don't want them to come back in. The only argument you can make maybe is Van de Beek, being as he is a Ten Hag player, that maybe it might take him a little while, but it's in a system he knows and he wants to be part of, and he'll probably want them to be part of too. But I wouldn't hold my breath on it. And I'm excited. I hope a lot of them go in January. I don't see that happening though. I think it's too many changes. I'd say the best we can hope for is Maguire going next summer. But Wan-Bissaka, I think, will be gone in January. Ronaldo, hopefully, will be gone in January. Who else did I say? And then Maguire in the summer, I think.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. I think there's a lot of change happening over the next 12 months for this team. I'm surprised in the Van de Beek one. I think just getting a chance, really. I don't think it's a surprise overall in terms of what we've seen from him from previous managers as well, and his involvement in the team. But I think in generally, in terms of how much Ten Hag knows about him and how much he was involved in that kind of team, Ajax, it just surprises me that he's not giving him more of a chance. But I suppose it's just the system that he's playing in.
Just to put it out there as well, what about Martial? Because he's very injury prone at the moment. I was just saying, do you think that with his injury record, do you think it would be worth getting another 2 strikers? So when Ronaldo goes and possibly Anthony Martial, do you think if he gets injured, he should leave as well? Because we can't be dependent on a striker that's so injury prone.
I totally think we need a number 9. I think with the way it's going, I mean, I don't know if Ten Hag I think he does like a number 9, doesn't he? Personally, but I just don't think he's been able to find one that really kind of suits his style. Mr. Tom, what do you think on that? Do you want to answer that question from Dan? Do you think we need to be looking for number 9, maybe January time, or would that be too?
I definitely think he's gonna get a striker, because that seemed like what, if you believe the reports that was out there, it seems like we was looking for a striker in the window. The big one that we wanted to aim for at the start was Nunes. Then we went, was it Sesko? There was another guy, and at one point we did want Gakpo and Anthony. Obviously the Anthony fee went up, then that changed. And I do see Gakpo coming in and being more of a striker, because that's how LVG sort of used him for his debut. Ooh. England are 2-2 now, by the way.
Oh, fuck.
Now. And I do see, and I saw a video from Fabrizio the other day. Even he said the Gakpo thing's still open. I've been seeing a lot of reports about it lately as well, like it's still open. I see someone else talking. I've been seeing that thing, and it does seem like he does want a striker. We can't rely on Martial now anymore. I don't know. Even when he went to Seville, like he got injured a lot at the back end of it. So there's physical problems there, and I wouldn't rely on someone that's been at the club for 7 years now. It hasn't been consistent, in my opinion. There's question marks still on Rashford's contract. Does he want to stay? Does he want to go? Is Rashford still going to want to fight if he's not? Because what Martial and Rashford have shown us, if they're not the main guy, there's issues. Yeah, that's the problem with both of them. As for the Donny Van de Beek thing, I think Ten Hag has a plan for him. He wouldn't have kept him. I feel like even the interviews that I've seen 2 recent ones. One, the last Europa game. I see one on the weekend as well. And the way Donny seems to be talking, like the manager sort of said something to him, look, show me, innit, like sort of thing, probably trying to get a sort of spirit out of him. And even Fabrizio said it like the other day. I was watching a video straight away when Ten Hag came in, he told Donny, you ain't going nowhere. I don't want you to go nowhere. I feel like he's got a plan for him. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong. And I remember reading a report, it was last year, how Donny's sort of like it's an isolated figure at Carrington, and how he doesn't really get along with a lot of the the cool guys, shall I say, like in school, the cool guys. He don't get along with a lot of them. And I watched the interview the other day, and they asked him who's his friends, and he was like, that's how it came across. Like, it's like Luke Shaw, like one or two of them. He said Matt R, and he said someone else. Like he goes out, but it seems like it does seem like that he doesn't maybe get along with the cool gang, if that makes sense. And he might just be a bit of a calm, simple lad. You know what I mean? He might not be out there like some of them. It just came across that when I watched that interview and he got asked about who's his friends. You know, normally Pogba in the past or anyone I've seen them like talk about this one, that one, that one. It was just weird. I just got a weird vibe from that interview. But yeah, I think Donny has a plan. I might be wrong, but I think there's a plan for Donny that Ten Hag has. Otherwise, he would have got rid of him. Last year, I think it was last summer, right? Yeah, he was talking to Everton, and then in January there was Crystal Palace and Everton that came back for him, and then he ended up going to Everton. So I'm pretty sure if there was an opportunity there and he wanted to go and play, I'm pretty sure he could have. But if the manager wanted to keep him, he's got a plan.
I think Crystal Palace would have been the better move for him as well, because Vieira said himself that he was guaranteed game time, and Everton he was
120% the better move for him. The way that Vieira wanted to play is very, sort of like Pep, and it would have made so much sense, man. I'll be honest.
Gallagher from Chelsea, when he was on loan with them, he was one of the top midfielders in the league last season, as people were reporting and stuff. So I think Van der Beek would have benefited a lot from Vieira being his manager instead of Lampard.
Yeah,
no, I agree.
Right, well, look, guys, we'll move on. It's been a good 20 minutes. Cheers for that, Dan. A good topic, mate. We'll move on to Joe's topic, and this is the Eriksen one, which I tend to agree. But I'll let Joe kind of introduce this topic, and we'll have a little chat around it. But go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, basically, all right. This might seem relatively mad, but I think it's genius, like everything I say. But I think Christian Eriksen can have the same effect for his ability, for his value. He doesn't have the swagger, he doesn't have the arrogance, but he just has the composure of Le God Eric Cantona. I think from what Eriksen has been through and just the pure class he radiates on the pitch, and how he doesn't steal the limelight by just being outlandish and just being an extrovert. He just is just so composed and so beautiful to watch that it can't do anything but inspire other players. Now, I'm not saying he's going to bring us, I'm not going to say he's not either, because he still has a few good years left in him, but like, he's not going to take us to a Premier League title this season. But there is something special brewing with him in midfield, and if we get the right players around him, and if we get everyone thinking with the same, with inside his genius brain, then I feel like there could be a lot of good times ahead. He showed us against Liverpool, but showed us especially against Arsenal what he can do. As Arsenal are somehow the form team, the best team in the world, because they're top of the table for 2 seconds. And he just completely owned that game. And I feel like he's one of the few players, I can't even think of the last player I can think of, that when he had the ball, you just had this sense of calm. You're just like, once Eriksen, if he sees something, we know something's going to happen. And it just gets me excited. He's a very different player to Cantona in pretty much every conceivable way, but in just pure talent, there is something there, and I feel like he could be a real game changer for us. And I think a lot of clubs will be wondering why they didn't go in for him. It doesn't matter the wages he's getting, but like what we got him for on a free transfer, it's the main comparison I'm getting, because we got Cantona for 1.2 million. I feel like it's really something special. And you look at, people will be saying that it's mad, but if you look at it's similar as well. Cantona was signed, like Leeds wanted him out the door. They just won the last First Division, and no one wanted him. And then we got him just by Fergie being Fergie. And same thing with Eriksen. No one wanted Eriksen, and we got him on a free transfer, aside from Brentford. So I feel like there's a lot of similarities there, and I think it's going to be special.
I totally agree. I mean, the thing that made me surprised me, I can't remember the year it was now, but it was that year where Spurs just let him go to Milan, which was probably 2017, I think,
or 2018, yeah.
And it was fun because it was just like everybody just let him walk out of the door. Like, there wasn't a lot of teams that were sort of coming in for him at that time, and I felt like he was at the top of his pomp, really, and top of his game. And let's be honest, he was a player that, to season or 2 seasons before that time he left, Man United were well and truly after him. And everyone seemed to let him just leave, which was just a surprising thing. So
was
there was kind of
at first. Was it
Mourinho was the player that let him go, wasn't it? I think Mourinho was at Spurs, wasn't he, at the time when he let him walk out the door.
I thought Mourinho joined in 2019 because we got that. Was it when it was the COVID season when we lost 6-1 to Spurs, wasn't it? And he'd left this summer before. I think it was before Mourinho got in charge.
Was it? Well, I know there was a crossover because he was on that. On that. What do you call it? All on. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah. So there was a crossover there, but yeah, I mean, to let a player like that to walk out your team was Daniel Levy was mad, really, to be quite honest. Considering where Spurs are currently, and if they had that player still in their team now, that would have been a massive, bolster to attack. But yeah, I mean, to add to what you were saying there, Joe, I think in terms of
England
players,
got a penalty, by the way, guys. Sorry to interject there.
It's going to be 3-2. Maguire taking it. Just rattle us up even more. But in terms of what you said there, I totally agree in terms of his composure and some of his passing. Unbelievable. I mean, it's up there for me. His style's up there with Scholesy, and it's like there's not many players you can use that in that same bracket. It's almost sacrilege to even use his name. He's my favourite player next to Wayne Rooney. So to put him in that bracket for me is a massive compliment. I get the Cantona comparison just in terms of, I think, like you said in your quote there, just in terms of the price, just unbelievable. His ability and his price alone is just puts him in that bracket. But yeah, I don't think he's really scratched the surface yet, if I'm honest. I feel like there's just so much more from him that we're going to see this season. We haven't really seen goals from him yet. I think once he starts getting goals as well as some of the creativity he's been providing, it's going to take him up a notch, really. So.
I mean, that goal for Denmark showed his class from the other day when he scored that goal for Denmark. That shows what he can do. I really rate Eriksen a lot. I thought when he was at Brentford last season, he was like a big fish in a small pond where he was just way too good for that team because a lot of people admitted that Eriksen was the reason Brentford probably stayed up with the creativity he brought to the team.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I mean, Mr. Tom, what's kind of your views on the Eriksen one? Were you quite... I can't remember when we were chatting about him coming, whether we were all sort of pleased, weren't we? But were you kind of expecting him to do as well as he's sort of done since he's been? He's been used quite a lot, hasn't he? As well, like he's not really.
No, I did see personally. I didn't think we should have went for him. That's just personal preference. But I saw the plan. I knew I could see what Ten Hag wanted to do. And if anyone's watched Ajax 18-19 season, I called it what Eriksen's doing, the LeSun role, and he's very much playing like LeSun. And I sort of predicted this, and this was way early. I said you can see he wanted, Mr. Question Mark. I'm not going to mention him. I'm pretty sure everyone don't want to hear about him. He didn't eventually come to United, but he wanted him and him together. Yeah. And I said that would have been similar, like the 18-19 team with LeSun and then Mr. Question Mark. So. And then even a couple, I think I mentioned it before, even 2 weeks ago, even, was it Tifo? They even done a video and said Eriksen's playing the left channel. Well, I predicted it how many months ago, but just saying. But yeah, do you know what? He's a quality player. He's impressed me more than I actually thought he would. I'm not going to lie to you. The other night, playing against Modric, and people say Modric's getting old, he bossed him. Yeah, listen, he's a baller. I can't lie to you. He's impressing me more and more, but because he's probably not loud and out there and he just gets about his job very quietly. It goes under the radar a lot of the times, but I definitely, and that's what I don't want to say too much because it's to do with what I want to talk my topic. But I agree. He needs a. I don't know. The midfield it just needs to go up, man. The levels of the midfield needs to go up, and then we can see even a better version of Eriksen. I'll be honest with you, he's quality, man. I can't. I'm when I've gone back and watched the games that he played for Denmark, the guy's quality. Seriously, he could be our Modric sort of player, if that makes sense. Especially with his age and experience, his quality, man.
I think it's kind of where you were alluding to a little bit as well, Joe, wasn't it? In terms of he's bringing everybody up to his kind of level as well, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's that's what I mean. It's exciting that I feel like there is someone in midfield that I can rely on, that I can trust, that I like. when they have the ball, they're not just looking to put its ball sideways or go back to David De Gea. There's someone who's actively moving forward. And the Scholes comparison, I am scared to do that, but like it is there. It is the most comparable player, especially in Next United, a legend. And like, in fact, especially at the age he's at, and he's been there and he's done that for so long, and he's come back from what he's come back from. I feel like he's someone to be really excited by, and he has really excited me so far.
Yeah, no, he's been absolutely brilliant, and hopefully he'll get better. I think he will. I think, to be honest, we've only seen snippets from him. I think he's going to get even better, which is scary, really, to be fair. So, yeah, I just fantastic player. For me, I think he's been out. Was our player of September, if I'm honest. But I think did Rashford win it? Did Rashford win it? I think Rashford won the player of the month.
No, I think Eriksen won it.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Eriksen won it.
Did he win it? I thought it was right. For some reason, I thought it was
Martinez August or something. Because I remember we did August as well. It was August. I think it was Martinez won it.
Right. Yeah. So, well, yeah, definitely deserved award. So no, yeah.
Germany just scored it. It's gone 3-3 now.
Jesus Christ! Why aren't we watching that game?
I've got it on my phone as well. I've purposely turned it around. Well, it's 3-2 on my phone, so I'm going to get a goal here. So, yeah.
I've seen my phone on silent always. You keep vibrating constantly. So.
Mr. Tom, we'll come to you, which is probably it's a weak goal as well. We'll come to you on your topic, mate, which is probably quite fitting considering what we've just been talking about Eriksen and having that level of control, and that's what your topic's about, mate. Do you want to add your topic and explain a little bit, and then we'll add to it?
Yeah. So basically, it's about how do we gain the control or take our ball possession from, let's just say, from what it is now to like averaging between 60 and 70, what Ten Hag probably wants. And he's alluded to it a couple of times. We need to be better at controlling the game, more dominant and more better in possession. Obviously, right now, Scott McTominay's playing well. Yeah, he's playing well. I would say well, not superb, not spectacular, and well. Bruno's decent. I'm still not. He's not like putting up trumps, but his work rate, listen, spectacular, out of this world at the moment. Eriksen, we just spoke about him. He's bringing a lot of calm to the midfield, a lot of intelligence, composure at times. But I feel like it's weird because I would preferably obviously want Casemiro to get in there because he's got that experience as well. And another midfielder, I don't know. But it's just, I feel like it's hard for us to actually impose ourselves on another team with the players we have currently, if that makes sense. We've never known Scott McTominay to impose himself passing wise and to dictate a game. And the same with Bruno. Bruno, like I can mention earlier, some players, they're not rubbish or trash or whatever. They just shoot a certain way. And this way, currently, for a midfielder at top level, when you look at midfielders, the top midfielders, right? Their pass completions are always between normally 80s, 90s, but normally 85s. If you look at the varieties or the De Jongs or the Modrics, it's very high, 85 normally. Scott McTominay's, the last couple of games, surprisingly, he's been in the 90 mark, 90, which is good for Scott, but it's surprising. I know it's good for Scott. Bruno has been actually this season is in the 70s, and that needs to get better. That actually for a top team, if you look at, like I said, the midfielders at the top teams, you have to know how to control a game and impose yourself in the game. And I feel like somehow, some way, Ten Hag's got to find the balance. Because I feel like even now the balance for us to control a game is not right now. Like we can't, even the Arsenal game, the first, we was able to do it the first, I think 15 minutes it was, and then we couldn't do it. No matter how much we tried, we couldn't dominate or dictate that game. And that's why people keep thinking that Ten Hag's trying to play in the transition. That's not the case. Look at the game against Sheriff. Right now, it's like it's coming in moments where we're having little spells in the game and not dictating it throughout the game. Is probably why you can tell he wanted Mr. Question Mark player to try and help with that. But we do need to somehow to sort that out, man. That is an issue for me moving forward. Getting that balance right, getting the midfield right. Obviously, we did want another midfield in the summer. Are we going to get another one next year? And with the options we have, it doesn't even like, how is he going to get that right? Fred, Question marks. Casemiro, I would like to see him in the team. Donny, I feel like Ten Hag can squeeze something out of him. I honestly think he can squeeze something out of him. I might be wrong and just optimistic. I said it about Dalo when everybody wrote him off, and I was like, trust me, this guy's going to surprise everyone. And he has surprised everyone. So Donny can, even for someone that's played what so many minutes, his pass completion, I think this season is like 92%. Like, this is the thing is with him, you know, he's gonna be able to do that, but it's just, can he get into the team? Like I said, the options we have in midfield is quite bad, I'll be honest with you. Unless we go to the youth players, Zidane, Savage, Kobe, they're all talented boys, but are they ready to get thrown into the deep end right now? Do you get what I'm saying? It's that midfield to me is the biggest worry, and it's like we went into the window, needed to sort out the midfield, and the midfield is still an issue. It's like we went into the window, needed to sort out goalkeeper. Goalkeeper's still an issue. Like, there's so much still to sort out at United. Do you know what I mean?
There is a few issues. I think the forward line is a bit of an issue as well. I think Dan kind of came to that a little bit earlier on. So we scarily, I think we kind of all knew that coming into this kind of season, didn't we? In this window anyway, that it was never going to get solved in a first window. It's probably going to take 2 or 3. But yeah, just on the Casemiro one, I think Ben in the backgrounds mentioned the Casemiro. I think we've now seen. We now need to start controlling games, so play Casemiro. His ability to sort of dictate the pace. Well, what do we think on Casemiro? I think for me it was quite concerning in the last game where he didn't start, and I felt like that was the opportunity for him to start. Was it the Sheriff game away?
Yeah. I only think that it was McTominay. I only think McTominay started over Casemiro that game was because Ten Hag went for the winning team, because obviously the games got cancelled due to the Queen's passing, and I think he just wanted to keep the teams like fresh legs, so he wanted to use the team as they would play together. Because don't forget that when we play City on Sunday, it would have been nearly a month since that team has played Premier League football. So I think he just wanted to keep them players fresh just as he went into international football, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's an odd one because, like you said, they're all going to get minutes genuinely in this team because they're all international footballers. So I know they won't necessarily play in the same system, but they will be, still playing games. So it's just odd that he didn't play Casemiro because coming in, and we'll talk a little bit just very quickly on the fixtures later on, but just looking at the fixtures, there's not probably a lot of opportunities that you're going to throw Casemiro into a starting lineup. You're going to pretty much keep it the same if it's winning games.
Wait, Reese, if I'm correct, we've got is it Ammonia with City Ammonia? Am I correct?
That's probably the game where you start.
I think I think we've got them back to back as well. I think we've got them. Like it doesn't. We've got them. Yeah, I think. Am I right?
Side of the Everton game. Yeah.
That'll be the 2 games where if he doesn't play, start the City game, which I would love him to start, but I don't see it. It does seem like Ten Hag wants to stick to the winning team. That'll be the game where I would like him to try and get full 90 minutes and see if he can somehow fight himself or get himself into the starting 11 because with his experience. But don't get me wrong, Scott McTominay's great, but we need that winning and that just something different in there, man. This is control games. That's the part for me where is a big thing for me, man.
Well, like we all know, Casemiro is going to come into the team and it's going to be sooner than later. But like Ten Hag's playing it perfectly because he needs to have a team where they feel like if you are good enough, if you're playing well, if you're showing it in training, if you're showing it on the pitch, you will play, you will get minutes. So I think it is the best thing that McTominay is playing. But also we know he's not going to be consistent. Now he will, of course, he will have a fucking blinder against City because he always does. So I think it'll be after that. I think Casemiro will start one of the next 3 games, but it won't be against City because it wouldn't be fair. But I think it's only a matter of time before McTominay. I really like McTominay. I think another player who gets way too much hate for the actual talent that he is. I think we'd be a less of a team without him, not necessarily as a starter. But I feel Casemiro is going to come in. Probably the game. Who do we say we have after City again? Who do we have after City?
Europa League game against.
Oh yeah. Casemiro will most certainly start against pneumonia, and he'll
not have a tickly cough afterwards.
Yeah. But he'll kick on from there. And I am, again, like we were saying, we need a stronger a midfield that can be controlled, like need somebody who can control midfield. That is Casemiro. And I think Ten Hag doing a great job in protecting him, because obviously he's not ready to get in yet, or else he would have been given a start. Who was his debut? Would have been Southampton. Would have been
when he started.
He got announced on Liverpool pitch. I think it was Southampton afterwards, wasn't it?
Yeah, but if this was like, look at Van Gaal when he started Angel Di Maria, when he literally came off the plane because we were so desperate. But like it sends out a good, like, calming thing to us as fans as well as the other team, being like, it's cool. I trust the players they have, but I need to bring in these guys too. So I think McTominay should play until he's, McTominay again, which will be after the City game, I imagine.
Yeah, it's interesting with McTominay. I think since he's been playing kind of on his own in that defensive midfield position, I do feel like we've got the best out of him. I think when you play, it's similar to the England situation. You play two defensive midfielders next to each other. It's far too defensive, and I think it's not very progressive in terms of, well, just literally getting the ball forward. So I think we've seen the best McTominay because he's been on his own in there. He hasn't been sort of shouldering next to Fred or somebody else, Mike, obviously from last season. So, but yeah, obviously Casemiro's we've got to believe that he's a level above McTominay. I mean, surely we've got to believe that. So at some point he's got to come in and show that kind of.
What happens though? Where do we go if we get to like February and he's not in the starting 11?
It's not going to happen though.
We don't know.
If we're top of the table, that is, and we're 6-8 points clear. That is and Casemiro isn't starting. I am fine with that. If we're not there, he's definitely starting.
Well, let's say do we turn to Real Madrid overnight and just want to see names on team sheets, or do we actually want a winning performance and then see us at the top? Joe's perfectly right. That's the be all and end all for me. And at the minute, Ten Hag's doing it right. We're winning games. We're playing better. So that's all really matters, isn't it? Just a couple of comments. Thomas Williams asked twice, so I will be fair enough to show this comment. With the transfers we've made, do you think we've got a chance against City on Sunday? I think we've always got to believe we've got a chance, especially in a derby game, no matter how the situation goes. And I think we're better placed to play City than we've been for the last 18 months. So I think we always put a good performance in against City. I think he's got to play that counter-attacking style with Rashford kind of fronting that, hasn't he, really? And go back to that style. But what do you guys think? Surely you all think we've got a chance against City on.
Yeah. I think Fabrizio Romano tweeted before we went live that John Stones has picked up a hamstring injury as well. So that might help us, because he talks about Akanji probably being City's partner with Diaz and not Laporte. I don't know what's happened to Laporte at City at the moment. I thought he moved on because I've not seen him play, but apparently he's still at the club.
I thought he died.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't know where he's gone. So
for those Laporte fans out there, we don't believe that he's died, and
I just wanted to clear that one up.
Just a disclaimer there on that one. No, I'm only kidding. Yeah, no. To be honest, with the Diaz one as well has been a bit strange, because I think there's been some fallings out with Diaz in terms of the kind of. There was a couple of games where he didn't. I'm sure he didn't start. I'm not sure if he picked up an injury, but I don't think he's been the same player that we saw a season or two ago, where he was just this rock at the back as well. So I think what I mean is, I think City have got some issues there. I think there's some frailties in that back line as well. They concede goals, don't they, more these days than they've ever done.
City are definitely weaker than they were 2 years ago. I think Haaland, as a squad, I think they're weaker, and I think they're there for the taking. I think Haaland, obviously, it's so utterly frustrating that he is the best striker in the world, and if you give him any sort of half chance, he will score. So if City have 3 shots on target, he's going to score one of them at least. But in saying that, I don't think we're going to have any fear. I think we're going to be up for it. I think we're going to be ready. I think we're going to enjoy the break. I think we are over the moon. Varane hasn't played really for France. So as long as he's wrapped up in cotton wool, Eriksen was on form as well. I think we can go in excited. Look at it, okay? We beat Liverpool when no one thought we were going to. I know they weren't great, but we beat them. and then we beat the in-form Arsenal team, who are seemingly the best team who ever existed. So, like, we have no reason to go into this game worried. We shouldn't change our game plan at all. We should attack City from the off. And I guarantee you, if we go into this game like we started against Arsenal, we will go on. We will go 1-0 up. Whether it'll be that at full time, I'm not sure, but we will definitely score. And like with Martinez and Varane at the back, like I have full faith. And you look at what Martinez did to Haaland the last 2 times they faced. I think
Ajax and Dortmund, a good game.
Yeah, we can be confident. We can be absolutely confident. And unlike I couldn't say that any other season when we did still beat City, but this one I have full confidence we can go in and it can be a good game, a good even game. Because City, when they will not win the Champions League, I think they'll get to the quarterfinals. I think once they come up against a properly structured team like Bayern, like Real Madrid, I think that they will be shown for what they are, which is an incredible going forward, but so weak at the back.
Yeah, it was the same. Sorry, Dan, go on.
It's all right. I was just going back to Mr. Turner, what he said about his topic with how we've controlled the games. Do you think that it's mainly the defence that's done that as a whole, where we're controlling games a lot better? How Ten Hag obviously wants to build from the back, because obviously he played centre-back when he was an actual player. Do you think that's what's actually built into his managerial tactics, where he builds out from the back, and that's why we've seemed to have one of the best defences we've had in a long time?
I feel like, to be honest, what I can see is that obviously, because I saw Lissandro how he played a lot at Ajax, it does help with the midfield. Obviously, the midfield, I'm not saying the players are better, but there was more intelligent, so it helped. And when you have intelligent players, and then he also had a partner in Timber, which we don't have a profile like that, where Timber was literally a centre back that got the ball from the goalkeeper sometimes and will drive all the way, and he's in a position like a number 10. Like, we don't have a centre back that's doing that, or that gets about like a second striker. And I think that helps. And you have all these profiles on the pitch that obviously Ten Hag likes, and obviously he don't have that, so he's making do and tweaking little things there. And I think someone mentioned it earlier about it's a jigsaw. He's just making do what he's got, sort of situation. So I do see. I've said it many times on the shows. The defense is giving me signs of hope, and I'm optimistic because of the defense and what I'm seeing from them. Not the rest of the team, but it's more so the defense. It's like when I watch them, it doesn't feel like we're going to concede a goal. And even Ten Hag said that himself with the Arsenal game. He didn't feel like they could really crack us. And so, just your point about Ten, he was actually a midfielder. He came a centre back later on, but he was a midfielder, by the way. But yeah, man, I just feel like he definitely, where he's an intelligent man in general, and he's learned a lot of stuff. A typical Dutch guy, their philosophy heavy, and he's had to learn stuff through his career, and he wants to play a certain brand. I remember watching an interview with Steve McCarran talking about it. Ten Hag's gonna get to where he wants us to be, and I think the control will come. But at the moment, as he said it himself in the interview, it's still not his final 11. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna tweak and put in players where they complement each other. So I do believe a Casemiro is gonna come in, but I might be wrong, but I do believe it, because we need to gain control of games. Because when you don't have control of games, you're giving the other team opportunities to impose their self on you and get back into a game. And that's what happens to us a lot. And it was happening to us under Ralph. And Ralph used to speak about it a lot. We can't control games. And that's an issue because of the players we have. We don't have typical, I call them triangle players, or players that do certain things the same, like a Modric, Cesc Fabregas. The top midfielders, Verratti, they do certain things where they can just control the game and calm it down. And we don't have that. Yes, we have Eriksen, but we haven't. I don't know why. When I look back at it the last years, we don't buy midfielders like that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry to drag on about that.
No, that's fine. I was just thinking though, but I think that certain players right now we're relying on way too much, because I think we're one injury away from Martinez or Varane, and then the defense is absolutely screwed. I think the same with the lot, and also saying the same with Eriksen. I just think that them players will depend on way too much at the moment. Now, I never thought I'd say the lot before the start of the season, but he's actually becoming one of them players now that United fans are really dependent on him, because he's obviously really stepped up his game at the start of this season. So I just think that certain players we need to bring backups for in January. Like for me, I personally like to see Tielemans come in from Leicester. I think that even though he's been called quite an average player this season, I just think that because he's got 1 year left on his contract ends in the summer with Leicester, and he's already said he's not signing a new contract. So I think that you could pick him up for about 5 to 10 million. I think that he would be a much better option than Van der Beek and Fred. So I think that he'd just be a player worth coming in for a short time while this rebuild is going on for Ten Hag.
I think you've got. I think Maddison hanging around as well. Whoever gets Maddison next is going to be. Surely going to be a bit of a hunting ground for him because, God, the way that Leicester are performing at the minute, there's surely a few players that people are going to be after. But yeah, Tielemans definitely. I think you've got a little fan here, Dan, as well. I don't know if it's one of your friends, but I'll just put you on the spot. What's your thoughts on another striker? I don't know if Nathan Miles is your friend of yours, but
yeah, he's a City fan as well. So.
Oh dear, let's get that comment off there then, mate. Right, yeah. Well, look, guys, we'll finish up on the fixtures front. I'll see if I can get the fixtures up here very, very quickly. Let's just have a look at the fixtures very quickly to finish off this hour and see where your thoughts are. Can you all see that, by the way?
Yeah, I can see that.
No.
All right. It's on your phone, you can't see it. I'll have to talk.
Oh, there we go. I can see it now.
Oh, there we go. I'll zoom it right in there. That good? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously we're back after this international break this weekend against the old rival Man City, which we've all said we fully expect to be getting a result out of. I think Ammonia, it was got to be a result that we're expecting a comfortable win, despite the fact that we're away. Do you all sort of agree with that?
Yeah.
Question about the Europa League. Do you think Ten Hag's going to go quite strong because of that? Where if you top your group, you skip the round of 32. Do you think he'll want to finish top on there, so we skip them first 2 games?
Yeah,
it's a good point. I think so. I mean, as Man United, you've got to expect to want to win and do the best you possibly can at all times. I know it's really cliche and a bit cheesy, but I think genuinely that's how we've got to view every game, isn't it? I think as fans as well, we want to see the best 11, even against Ammonia. So I think for me, I'd want to be seeing a strong 11. Let's be honest now, the bench is starting to look quite well. You know, despite the fact that we have got weak parts in the team in terms of if 1 or 2 players get injuries, we're pretty the flexibility in the rotations pretty weak. I think generally the bench is starting to strengthen up a little bit. Where you look at it now, going Casemiro, Ronaldo, Shaw, you're thinking, okay, there's a few players there now sat on the bench where there's some rotation in it. But I think he's got to look to do that, hasn't he? Really, I think that's got to be the aim, especially after the poor start we had to the group, losing to Sociedad. I think we've got to kind of come out now wanting to win all games from here on out. So yeah, definitely. What's your guys' thoughts on that? That's got to be a comfortable win, hasn't it, all around, Mr. Tom? Do you reckon? Strong 11.
Yeah, do you know what? There's the 3 fixtures that do concern me. The Newcastle one, is it Newcastle, Spurs, and I think Chelsea? I think it is.
Yeah,
Newcastle. Yeah,
that's
Spurs,
a tough round of fixtures, isn't it?
That one is how do you rotate? Do you know what I mean? From the best, I don't feel like you can rotate so much in those games. You're probably going to have to rotate 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, maybe max. I don't feel like you can rotate a lot in those games, but I might be wrong.
3 days, and then you've got another 3 days as well. It's like a lot of games in basically 6 days, a week. Yeah.
Newcastle are not. I don't even know if you're watching. They're playing well. This
year. Very well. But I think as Thingy picked up a bit of a knock though. St. Maximin, I think he's picked up a bit of a knock, hasn't he, at the minute? So he might.
I think same with that Bruno. Is it Gamarias? I think he also picked up a knock as well because he was in my fantasy Premier League and he's not. So I think he picked up a knock. So
yeah, they were playing pretty well.
Spurs, I'll be honest with you. I feel like Spurs is beatable, but it's like the way that Conte's got them set up here, it's like they can beat you as well. It's like it's so weird. Even like when I watch them against Leicester, they're such a bogey team where they're so open, but they can score against you. Like it's crazy, man.
Especially when you can bring Son on and score on that trick. It's just like it's so dangerous, isn't it? But yeah, that's a really tough run of fixtures, to be quite honest. Yeah, that can sort of make and break. You win sort of 2 or 3 of those games. or lose all three, and the season can sort of be on a bit of a knife edge, can't it? Where you're looking at probably getting in the top four quite comfortably, or sitting fifth or sixth after those three games. So they are some tough games there, to be fair. Obviously, the Chelsea game, I think, is a situation where, again, you probably just don't know where Chelsea are going to be at that point in time, do you? New manager, obviously,
No.
Graham Potter coming in. It's like, do we expect a win of that? Win that game?
I expect to win that. I honestly don't fear. I don't fear Chelsea at the moment. I think that when Tuchel was manager compared to now Potter's manager, I think that there's a significant difference in that, and I just think that Potter just won't be able to grab that in time when United comes around. So I feel it'll take him at least another month or two to actually grab this Chelsea team together, because the lack of front options they have as well is that. It's just mainly their goals seem to be coming from the midfield at the moment. So I just think that if United put them on the back foot and they're constantly defending, then I think United would easily scrape a win there and get like a 2-0 victory or something.
What's your thoughts on it, Joe, in terms of these fixtures? Was there any sort of, apart from the obvious run of fixtures there's three, is there any that you're thinking that's a bit of a worry, or do you think quite comfortable to get through most of these games?
Football is so difficult to judge because we're playing Villa there 6th of November, and I would love to have played them maybe a week ago, but they're just after getting a good. Who did they play? Who did they beat? Was it Leicester? Yeah, they beat Leicester. Like, that might start a run for them because they have got good squad, good players, and they might be ready to go for us then. Same with West Ham. They might be coming into actual form then as well. Chelsea are out of form at the moment, but with the new manager bounce, they might come in at the exact right time. Newcastle, we shouldn't be talking about them. They're scumbags. Spurs are always going to give hard because with Conte as well. So aside from Everton, and by the way, fuck Frank Lampard as well. Everton really, it's only Everton I'm looking at that and going, aside from the Europa League games, being like, yeah, that's 100% nailed on. We have to win. There's no reason why we should be dropping any points there. But aside from that, all those games are bogeys. So if we come out of this, I don't know, but say there's 18 points or whatever there, from what's that, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 if you go up to Villa. If we get 15 points from those, then I am ecstatic. But if we drop points at Everton, then I feel it's going to be not a long season, but I think that will temper expectations again because Everton are shit.
And I know we're not an Everton fan channel, but what's actually happened with James Garner at Everton? Because I've really not heard anything of him, because I think that was a disgraceful signing with letting him go and stuff. And honestly, I've not seen him play. I don't know if it's just me, but I've not really watched Everton much, and I've not really seen James Garner play. And I think that was a bit of a letdown when we let him go.
Yeah. Well, I've not seen much of him myself, Mr. Todd. I don't know if you've seen much of him either, to be fair. But we're in that position, aren't we? There's a lot of youth players where it's just obvious that they're not going to make it to that level. I think, Laird leaving on loan as well I felt was a little bit of a tiny back step there, considering his right back position is a little bit weak. Few other positions really. But
without Brandon Williams and Twenzebe, because I forgot they were at the club, to be honest, and they're still here hanging on for dear life. So
Williams is not. I don't think he's even registered to play.
No, he's not. He's not.
I don't think he's physically big enough as well for the Premier League. Personally, for that level in the league, I think it's not for me. He's not.
Isn't he a left back that plays with his right foot as well, which makes no sense? So I just don't understand that aspect of how he thinks his left back's his more primary position.
Yeah, I'm not entirely convinced by him either, to be fair. I think he's got a keen edge and he's willing, but I think in terms of his physicality. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, right, okay, guys. Well, it's been rounded off at an hour, it's 10 o'clock. So I appreciate everybody watching. I think we've racked up a few views and a few regulars have been on. So I appreciate everybody that's been commenting. I think we've managed to get through the hour pretty well. So nice to be back at it again, talking about United and not watching England, other than Mr. Tom couldn't take his eyes away from the TV. So that's, but looks like it was a 3-3 result in the end. So probably a fair score all round. Mr. Tom, you can give us a synopsis on that later on. on those spaces, maybe.
Maguire cost a penalty.
But yeah, no, thank you for everybody that's been watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as always. I'm sure a lot of you in the comments have already kind of subscribed to the channel. But yeah, don't forget to follow the guys on Twitter as well. So we've got Joe, Dan, and Mr. Tom. And we will catch you in the next one. So cheers, guys. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you. See you later.